Okay, before we get into this, there's something I need to address first, and that is to answer your question, yes, I am wearing a Bluey shirt. And if you don't like that, I don't really know what to tell you. It happened to be a clean shirt that was in my dresser this morning, and I put it on. And my little baby girl, she's 2.5, she loves Bluey, and so I also happen to like Bluey because I end up, you know, when you're a parent, you end up watching whether you want to or not, a lot of the shows your kids watch. And so I end up spending a lot of time watching Bluey with her. So, but we're not here to talk about Bluey, okay? We're here to talk about Greek grammars, okay? And particularly the fact that I was wrong about the particular grammar we're talking about today. And that is, It's Still Greek to Me by David Allen Black. Now, the reason that my copy looks so funky is because originally I bought it used and the cover on it was ripped. So I just tore it off and protected it with like a plastic. I don't know if you can see this. It's like a plastic. It's not really picking up. You know, it's like those plastic book protectors. Anyway, I just covered it in that, and it's, you know, that's why it looks funky anyway. So, but the reason I'm making this video is that I am going to admit something, and that I was wrong in my initial assessment of this book. I recently did an intermediate grammar overhaul, where I went over 4 different grammars, intermediate grammars. And if you've seen that video, you'll know that of the 4 grammars I reviewed, I thought that It's Still Greek to Me was my least favorite. Now, what's ironic is that the reason that I said it was my least favorite is actually the very thing that changed my mind about it. So, first of all, let me say this. It is not a bad grammar, okay? And I really don't want that to come across that I didn't like this because I thought it was a bad grammar. It's not a bad grammar. Even when I said some negative things about it, I didn't want this to come across as me saying that it was a negative reflection on the author, who's David Allen Black, who happens to actually be a hero of mine. I really like David Allen Black. He's how I got into Greek, at least my educational level, because I went through his beginning grammar and I watched his videos, and his passion was so motivating to me that it pushed me on. And to be honest, I don't know if I would have stuck it out if it wasn't for him. So I owe him a great debt. So then when I got this grammar, I was super excited about it. But I found myself disappointed because what happened is I went into it expecting it to be more along the lines of like Daniel Wallace's Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics, something like that, or Going Deeper with New Testament Greek by Robert Plummer and Ben Merkle. And actually Kostenberg, I believe, is another author on that book. But I found myself disappointed because I was expecting it to be something that I don't think it was ever intended to be. Now, let me explain that. I have a theory about this book, okay? Like I said, I learned Greek using, actually, this book right here. Learn to Read New Testament Greek by, like I said, David Allen Black. If you want, you can go and do a drinking game every time I say David Allen Black. It's going to be a lot. I don't know why I don't just say Dr. Black. I probably should, but I'm used to saying David Allen Black. Anyway, a drinking game with Welch's grape juice, of course. So that's for my Baptist friends. Anyway, I learned my introduction to Greek was through Dave Black and this book right here. And one of the things that I found that's interesting is that this book here, this introductory grammar, is very concise in its definitions, to the point, very blunt. And I think it's because this book was designed for a classroom setting, expecting you to have a professor who's going to elaborate on these different terminologies, which when you're in a classroom like a college setting, or seminary, that works great because your professor is going to know more about this than you are. He's more familiar with these terms, so when he reads a more technical term, he'll be able to explain that concept to you. But when you're teaching yourself, it can be a little bit difficult, especially if you're not familiar at all with any kind of grammar. If you've never learned a language to begin with, like if you're starting from scratch, from zero, it can be very challenging to get into it. And so, like I said, Dr. Black, wrote this book in a very concise way. Now, when I got to this intermediate grammar, It's Still Greek to Me, it's funny because it's almost like a different human being wrote this book. And in fact, this book actually sounds like how Dr. Black talks. So if you've ever seen his videos, he talks very down to earth, very friendly. He seems like a super genuine guy, and I think he is.
Well, this is embarrassing. This is editing John here, and my stupid phone died. I even saw the notification before it blinked out, and I had it plugged in, but then alas, it was too late. I tried to get the video done before it would die, but note to you who are also trying to make videos, double check your phone before it dies. That way you don't look like an idiot and have to record it in a second part. So please forgive that. It's a slight interruption, and we'll go on to future John. Future past John is going to go ahead and record the rest of the video. So with that as an explanation, here is future past John.
Okay, note to self, make sure your phone isn't going to die before you try to record a video. So anyway, what I was getting to is I was saying that this book here, It's Still Greek to Me, sounds a lot different than how Dr. Black's original grammar sounds. And what I was getting at is my suspicion, and I'd be curious to find out if I'm right in this, but my suspicion is that he wrote this intermediate grammar for pastors and other students who've graduated from seminary and have since moved on and have lost their Greek or are trying to refresh and are trying to get back into it. And so I think he wrote this book in such a down-to-earth style because he knows that the audience that's going to be reading this is people that have already had some kind of background in Greek, and what they need is a very concise, easy to understand guide on how the Greek grammar of the New Testament works. So and that's getting exactly to why I changed my mind about it, because I found myself, you know, if you're familiar with where I am right now in my journey, I'm trying to really solidify and get my vocabulary and grammar down so that I can fluently read the New Testament. That's what I'm working on right now. And one of the things that I did is I went back and started going back over my beginning grammars to try to drill in those concepts and really cement them. So, but what I found is that I ended up using Dr. Black's intermediate grammar more and more to try and get a simple and easy to understand definition for different grammatical concepts. So like I said, I started with Learn to Read New Testament Greek, and what I found though is, because I went back through it and I was just reviewing, is how he would say something in here and I'd think, well, I wonder if he words it differently in his intermediate grammar. And the truth is that yes, he did, and he writes it in such a simple and very, very relatable and easy way to understand. And so that's why I've changed my mind about it. I'm not going to change what I said, that I don't think it's a good, I think it's obviously not an exhaustive grammar for getting syntax. Okay, if you want something like that, there's really no other book except Wallace. There's no better book but Wallace. But if you're looking for something that can help to really begin to get those concepts into your mind, that you understand them in an easy to understand way, then I really, really recommend you get this book. I think, in fact, if you were going to learn from scratch and you were to pair these two together, so if you were going to do, you know, Learn New Testament Greek by Dr. Black and then use this in tandem with it to help you understand and watch his videos, that would honestly be a great way to get into the language. it's not a bad setup. Like I said, I have a soft spot for Dr. Black's books because that's how I got into Greek. That's how I learned. So my mind thinks in his terms, his morphological analysis. So that's, you know, so I'm very biased, okay? But again, still, I wanted to say that I don't think that there's anything negative about this book. I don't think it's bad at all, and it's very good. It's very simple to understand, and I recommend you get it, especially if you're trying to get into it, back into Greek, and you don't want to, you know, you're like, where do I start? Just get this book. It's easy. Get this book, and I think it's a great way to refresh your Greek. So anyway, with that said, go ahead and comment if you like this grammar, if you know, if it's something you're into, and if you made it this far, even after my goof up, I appreciate it. Sorry again about that. But anyway, God bless you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.